More Americans than ever are expected to reach retirement age in 2025. And according to the latest Fidelity Investments State of Retirement Planning study, many are understandably experiencing a reality check. Here to discuss what we need to know is Rita Assaf, Vice President of Retirement Offerings at Fidelity Investments. Hello, Rita. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great.
Great to talk with you, and we want to get into it. What did the study find about how today's retirees are enjoying their retirements?
Well, encouragingly enough, our study did find that many retirees are saying that their planning paid off, with over 70% saying retirement is going as planned, and even more are saying that retirement has been more enjoyable than they expected. But our study did find that many retirees have been caught off guard by the rising cost of living and the high cost of healthcare.
That makes sense. Rita, how are those who are planning their retirement years faring at this point?
Well, our study found that nearly 2/3 of Americans in their planning years actually have a positive outlook, which is fantastic. However, our study did find that this confidence has actually uh, decreased by about 7% from last year, in part due to the impact of the rising cost of living. And Gen X is at the forefront of this drop in confidence. Only 53% felt that they could retire on their own terms. And this comes as a record number of Americans are expected to reach traditional retirement age in 2025. This lower confidence can actually be related to the fact that, at least for Gen X, many are preparing for retirement and continuing to care for both aging parents and children.
Yeah, they're dealing at those both ends of the spectrum. And so when you're looking at retirement, how will retirement be different for today's retirees versus that next generation?
Well, one similarity that it's important to note is that majority of Americans in any of their planning stages say that they are concerned that their savings will last throughout their retirement. And so one big difference today is that today's retirees are the last to report in large numbers that they'll be using pensions as a way to fund their retirement. In fact, 61% of retirement savers say that they'll be using IRAs, 401ks, or other workplace accounts as their biggest way to fund their retirement. That's compared to only half of today's retirees. However, we've been seeing some really positive savings behaviors. Recent data has actually shown that there's been growth in savings rates in IRAs and 401ks that's closest to the Fidelity recommended rate of 15%.
I think whenever someone thinks about retirement, there's got to be some level of anxiety or apprehension. And whenever you have a situation like that, the best thing you can do is plan and say, okay, what can I do right now to solve that problem? So what are concrete steps people approaching retirement can take to feel more prepared, to feel more comfortable?
Well, I can't reiterate this enough. Having a retirement plan is crucial to helping you reach and live in retirement. And in fact, our study found that 92% of Americans felt that planning does not end at retirement. So ideally, you should have a diversified income plan. And what this means is that essential expenses should be covered by guaranteed income sources that can keep up with inflation. So this can include Social Security or annuities. Second, discretionary expenses should be covered by savings or investment income. This way, you can cut back on spending without hurting your day-to-day living expenses. And it's important to maintain a reasonable withdrawal rate. We recommend a withdrawal rate of no more than 4 to 5% a year on average. And then lastly, you really want to focus on healthcare costs in retirement. It is one of the largest expenses that you'll have. And so for those that are really that pre-retiree group that's really at the cusp of retiring, you'll want to understand what your Medicare strategy will be, what it will cover and not cover, and how you might need to fund any potential long-term care needs.
Rita, those are some very tangible, great pieces of advice. And in general, where can people go for more information to start that planning?
You can go to fidelity.com/retirement planning for additional educational resources and tools.
Thanks so much for your time today, Rita. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.